Hey everyone, with the add item to inventory function completed, all we need to do is refresh our inventory when a new item is added. Let's open up our widget blueprint folder and open up the slot holder into the graph, and right in here in the initialize slot holder function, I'm going to add a new function called refresh inventory slots. Before I do anything in here, I just want to plug this function right after we create the inventory slots. And this requires access to our inventory slots variable. So within the AC inventory component, this variable is private, so we will utilize encapsulation and create a pure function. I'll call this get inventory slots. Drag this in, plug it up, and I'll rename the output to be return value. Make this pure, and that's that. Back to the slot holder, I'm going to get access to my AC inventory and get the inventory slots. So the first thing I want to do here is run a for each loop. And we need a way to tell the engine, basically, or the inventory, that we want to get the array element from this and get the exact index that we want to update or refresh, and then update that data. So we'll create a function again called update inventory slot. This requires an input of type as inventory slot, and I'm going to rename the input to be inventory slot as well. I'm going to fill this out soon. For now, let's plug the function up right here. And that will be the end of this refresh inventory slots function. Let's head over to the update inventory slot now. I'm going to drag off of the input and break the structure. And the only value that I want is the index. I'll then get the inventory slots widget array. And let's get a copy of that index. We want to make sure that it was found. So let's do an isValid check. And if it was, then we need to access a function from within our inventory slot widget. Now in this widget blueprint here, we created a function called update inventory slot. So back in our slot holder, from this get copy, we're going to call update inventory slot. Connect this to your isValid pin. And the inventory slot that it's asking for is the input of this function. I'll just copy it, drag here, and paste it in. Under the variables category is the one that we want, which is the function input. And that's that. Lastly, we need to utilize the event dispatcher for whenever we try to set a new item, and we can get that from the AC inventory as well. All of this is being done in the initialize slot holder function, by the way. Drag off and say bind event to refresh desired slot. For the events, I'm going to drag off and search for create event, and we want to create a matching function. So I'm going to select create matching function, and I want this function to have the exact same name as our event dispatcher within our inventory. So I'll open it up, highlight it, copy the name, and head back here and paste it. So what are we going to do here? We already have a function for this, so let's drag in update inventory slot, connect it, and drag this as the input. And that's all. So all we need to do now is add an item to our inventory and basically test to make sure everything works. I'm going to do this within my character blueprint. So let's open up the player character. I'm going to add a debug key. I'm going to use my E key for now. And we will call the function add item to inventory. It's asking what item we're trying to add. We're going to fill this out soon. I'm going to add a branch. And if it was added successfully, then I'm going to add a print string so we can see this. I'm going to say item added. Right. For the item to add, we will be using the item to add data in other functions. For example, when we create our interaction system, it won't always be here within our player character because I don't have much logic in here. So we can create a global function in our library, and I'll call this access item to add. Let's create an output to this function of type sInventorySlot. And I'll rename this to be return value. From the return value, I want to make the sInventorySlot, and I'm going to drag the quantity as an input as well as the data asset. From the data asset input, I'm going to drag off and get the item name. And this will be used as our item ID. I'll then highlight the made structure here and hide any unconnected pins. I'm just going to clean this up a bit. Make this function pure, and that's it. Head back to your player character and let's call the function access item to add. I'm going to set a quantity of 1, and it's asking for a data asset which we have not created yet. Let's head back to the inventory data assets folder, and I'm going to right click, head to miscellaneous and data asset. I want to scroll all the way down here and select PDA item settings, which is the one that we have here. I'll call this DA for data asset underscore test item. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to give it a name. Let's say box, and a maximum stack size of 1. It's asking for a texture. If you don't see any textures here, all you need to do is hit the little settings icon and select engine content, so you can see some default icons. I'm going to select this little Android guy. Let's head back to the player character and select the data asset. Now, we can add an item to the inventory. It should refresh and show the icon and the stack size. What, did I miss anything? Well, we'll find out soon enough. Hit play. I'm gonna hit E to add my item. You can see item added. I can open my inventory, and now we have the Android icon there. So right now you can see we cannot close. So let's do the logic now for closing the inventory. It's going to be rather simple actually. We'll need to navigate to the widgets folder, open up the inventory display, head over to the graph, and let's override a function called on, what is it, key down, I believe it was. Let's preview. Yeah, on key down. Now we can access the keys that we want from the enhanced input system by looping through the mappings, getting the key that we want to be assigned to opening, and can use the exact same keys as the ones that we want to close. Or you can create an array and add some keys that you want to close the inventory with, and I'm going to do that way at least, so you can learn different ways of doing it. The for each loop with the input mapping system is a bit more complicated, but it's still doable. But I'm sure you can figure that out. I can probably show you that in a later episode. For now, let's open up the controller class, add a variable, and I'm going to call this close inventory keys. This will be of type key, and I'm going to make this an array. Back in the inventory display here, we can get our RPG controller, drag off and get the keys, close inventory keys. I want to check if the input key is within this array. So let's right click and search for the in key event. And let's get the key from this. And is the key that we're pressing within our close inventory keys array? If it is, then we want to close our inventory. So let's get the RPG HUD. And let's see if we have the function already created. Right, so remove inventory widget. We already have this. So basically, if the inventory display is valid, remove it from parent and then set the variable to be null. Head back to the inventory display and call the function remove inventory widget. And lastly, we need to access the controller class again to update the input mode and set it back to game only because the inventory is now closed. I'm going to call set input mode to game only, and we don't need anything else here. I'm just going to call the return node and return successful, handled. Now, since in our controller class we opened the inventory and we are trying to focus on the inventory widget, we need to tell the inventory display that it can be focused on. And we can do this by selecting class defaults and selecting is focusable under the interaction section. Now we can open and close our inventory successfully. Let's test it. Open. And we cannot close. And this is because we didn't add any keys to the controller close keys variable. So let's select the close inventory keys variable. I'm going to add 3. I'm going to close it with tab, I, and escape. Compile, and let's play. I can open, and now I can close. With I as well, I can open with tab and close with escape. So it's really good. I can add an item, open it up, close. Alright, let's see if we forgot anything. I don't think so. We can add the item. Let's test the item adding a bit better by, let's say, the maximum stack size of the test item is 1, but we want to add a quantity of 5 within our player character here. It should add 1 per slot 5 times. Alright, so this works. And next, let's do if the item is a stackable item. Let's say there's a stack size of 4, but I want to add 5. Then it should add 4 to one of the slots and the remainder to the other. Alright, so you can see 4 here, remainder of 1. So the value is kind of stuck to the bottom right a bit too much. So I'm going to open up my inventory slot widget blueprint, head back to my designer, and I'm going to select my quantity text and give it a padding of 5. So it's a bit offset. Compile, and let's hit play again. Add some items, and now you can see it's a bit better. Right? So that's it for this video. In the next one, we're going to continue by possibly creating the drag and drop functionality for our inventory. That's it for this one, guys. See you in the next one.